It's week 13, and in Dynasty, you know what that means. It's time to start making your moves for the playoffs. Producer, hit that button. Welcome to the Dynasty Pulse once again, right here on Fantasy Sports Advice Network and the Undroppables, and on terrestrial radio 101.5, talking West Tennessee. As always, I am Bigz. Schultzy's in the building. We got Grindberg in the house. There is so much ball knowledge in this studio. There's stiff competition out there, but we're stiffer. We're getting ready for the playoffs in fantasy. We're talking dynasty fantasy football. What are we doing moving forward this season? What are we doing getting our teams ready for next season as well? It's a great show. Happy Thanksgiving. We got 4 days of football. We got tonight or last night. We got Friday. We got Sunday. We got Monday. 4 days of football this weekend. How are you fellas doing on this Thanksgiving night?
Fantastic. Fantastic, man. Thanksgiving's great. We get football all day. We get great food. But Mike, how's Thursday?
Thursday is amazing because you never get all day football on Thursday ever here up in Canada. So I'm ready to rock. I'm ready to go. And it's been a great day of football outside of my Chiefs losing. But that's how the dominoes fall. But we got a lot to talk about here this week. And let's recap the games, Biggs. Let's start about the early slate. And that was a pretty damn good game between the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions. But, you know, Detroit kind of needed to win this game, and it didn't end up happening that way. You know, they lost at home against a really tough Green Bay Packers team. What are your thoughts on the game? Some highlights here. Obviously, we had some big time performances from TreVeyon Henderson, who's kind of been a UN score model guy, with his efficiency and stuff like that, showing up on paper here. And a Christian Watson game, 4 for 80 and a touchdown. Talk about the Green Bay Packers side and what you saw from that, and how it is, relevant for fantasy.
Pretty sure I talked about Christian Watson on one of our forecast shows as his target share was increasing. TreVeyon Henderson has been an absolute model, loved by the model. He's had some drops issues. That's what plagued him last year. But as far as analytically, he seems to be a pretty good receiver. One of the things that I talked about very early in the season or preseason was a thing that the Detroit Lions were going to have to overcome, and that was the difference between the rest that they are getting versus their opponent each week. And they're on the deficit side of being able to rest their players as opposed to what their opponents get to do. The Raiders have a worse differential, but Detroit Lions is 31st. And we've seen it show up a couple times in the last couple weeks. Philadelphia hammered them. They couldn't do much against Green Bay, especially when Amon-Ra St. Brown went out a little bit early. And Jahmyr Gibbs didn't have a 55-point performance. He was held to 12 points in PPR. So this thing is kind of going to continue to happen for the Detroit Lions. If they don't have a good defensive matchup, they might struggle a little bit. And that's what this game told me. Josh Jacobs coming off of injury, didn't have a huge game. It was the Jordan Love show. But yeah, it was I didn't see any of it.
Well, then Schultzy, on the other side of the ball there, on the offense side, big time injury happened here. Amon-Ra St. Brown left the game early, pretty much a goose egg here, and worried about his ankle now. Could be a high ankle sprain from what I'm gathering. And Jameson Williams popping off here. Obviously, the necessity play here. He's going to be funneled the targets now straight out of necessity at this stage. If Amon-Ra was going to miss some time, boomer bust guy. And I thought he was going to be a guy that was going to hit last week against a Commanders team that was vulnerable. Oh, sorry, a Bears team that was vulnerable late in a shootout. So what's your take here on Jameson now? Is he a must start guy if Amon-Ra is no longer available?
Oh, 100%, man. The Packers defense is good. And I mean, the proof's in the pudding of what happened today. Now, it does help that two things here. The Packers might be Jahmyr Gibbs' kryptonite. Now, they showed a stat during the game today that, his average scrimmage yards is like around 100 yards a game, something like that. And it's like 58 against the Packers. Now, obviously, your sample is smaller because you're only playing them twice a year versus every other game of his career. But it appears that the Packers, and they stopped the run well. So it's like, this may be a thing with Jahmyr Gibbs against the Packers. We'll see. Stay tuned. But I think that's one thing, funneling targets up. And then the other one here is they were losing most of this game. They needed to score. They needed to go. And that translated to a huge game from Jameson. So there will be some game scripts here that maybe don't play into Jameson's favor quite as much. But man, when Amon-Ra goes out and you get 9 for 144 and a touchdown, I'm pretty sure something right around that ballpark. Like, you love to see that. That's great right there.
Love it. Yeah. It's an incredible run that he could go on now, especially, without the likes of Sam Laporta, without the likes of, Amon-Ra. It could be juicy here moving out. Anything to add to that, Bigz?
Wheels up for Isaac Tesla too.
No kidding. Yeah. I mean, he scored a touchdown today, and things could be very, very profitable for those of us that were on to Tesla, like Bigz had got us all on to Woo Pig Suey, right, Bigz?
Yeah, wait till week 16 when he goes up against Pittsburgh. If there's no Amon-Ra and it's just the Tesla and Jameson show, we've got him in our Omega League.
There you have it. Okay, guys, let's move on to the other game that we got to recap here, and that's the Chiefs and Cowboys. What a awesome game for fantasy that was. Huge performances, both sides of the ball. It was nice to see CeeDee Lamb catch, most of his targets, and George Pickens, incredible once again, 13 targets in this one. Didn't have the incredible numbers, but incredible performance on third down when they needed him the most. But highlight here there, Schultzy, was Rashee Rice, 8 for 92 and 2 touchdowns. Clearly the Chiefs' number one guy, and looks like they're outside of the playoff picture now, and it's going to be really, really tough for them to sneak in. So what's your thoughts on Rashee Rice moving forward now that maybe they're looking to maybe preserve him? What's your thoughts on him and the Chiefs moving forward?
Oh, completely unwavered on Rashee Rice. I mean, wherever you had him going into this game, you shouldn't be knocking him down just because they might be out of the playoff picture here. I mean, this is still probably a top 10, 12 guy in Dynasty, and I don't have any reservations about that changing.
Bigz?
Yeah, it's Rashee Rice. We saw what he did on Sunday, and he's the go-to guy in this offense.
All right. Well, what about this Dallas Cowboys offense here? George Pickens, 6 for 88. CeeDee Lamb coming back to life here. An important touchdown pass early there, but Malik Davis coming in, getting some run. Obviously not the rush share, but made point, and it just kind of puts things into perspective here about like those backup running backs that you kind of need to handcuff at this stage of the year. They're really, really important in our lineups. Dak Prescott on a pace here. Bigz, you called it again, headed into this season. He's got his yo-yo syndrome, if you will, where he's one up, one down, and he's not messing around this year, and looking like a pace that is going to exceed the one of 2023. He didn't have the likes of George Pickens with him that year, and the Dallas Cowboys are still in this hunt here. They got a really important game now against the Detroit Lions next week, which could position them right in the middle of that wild card hunt. And with the two, moves they made at the trade deadline here, they're stopping the run. They're elite on offense. This Dallas Cowboys team could be one to watch out for. And Dak Prescott leading the way. What's your thoughts on him rest of the season? And in Dynasty now, especially if they re-sign George Pickens, which looks like it's going to be a reality now.
Well, given his up and down nature year to year, if this is a spike year, next year is going to be a terrible year. So it's going to be a sell high on Dak Prescott this offseason. What a catch by Jamar Chase. That dude he's still number one. Anyway, we're recording this last night today. The big thing for me, and this kind of reared its ugly head against the Raiders, is the trades that they made at the trade deadline shore up their run defense to the point where they can stop the run, get the defense off the field, and put the ball in Dak Prescott's hands. And the more often you can do that, when you've got a CeeDee Lamb and a George Pickens, a Jake Ferguson, you got, Javonte Williams, and the ball's in Dak Prescott's hands, this becomes a very dangerous Cowboys team, and it enhances the value of all of their fantasy assets. So I like the Cowboys rest of the season. It's a big game against Detroit, who hasn't been playing well. It has shootout written all over it, and it's going to be fun to watch this season play out.
Yeah, it's going to be incredible, and you know what I mean. They could be a dark horse here. If you look at the rest of the season, it's coming down to the wire here, and there's some important games on their schedule. So let's move on to a couple of storylines here as we head into week 13, and it's full bore. We're kind of halfway through. And, one of the big storylines here, Schultzy, is Lamar Jackson, and his season has taken a troubling turn for dynasty managers. What began as a few minor injuries has grown into a reoccurring pattern with a knee, ankle, and now toe issue disrupting his rhythm. His rushing volume has dropped sharply. His design runs have nearly vanished, and his recent string of single-digit fantasy performances is something we have never seen from him when healthy. Baltimore is shifting towards a more conservative approach, and Jackson's lower body durability becoming a weekly storyline for managers that are starting to question whether this is temporary slump or an early warning sign of what the later stages of his prime may look like. What's Lamar's rushing upside now? His work is declining, Schultzy. The injury list is piling up. Should dynasty managers view this as a moment, as a rare chance to buy low on an elite quarterback, or the beginning of a long-term trend that makes Jackson a risky player to build a dynasty roster around?
Yeah, I'm not super concerned about him long term here. I think everything you're seeing, like you mentioned, is directly related to this injury stuff. I mean, when he popped out to start the season with 3 solid games, I mean, the league I'm looking at right now, 29, 26, 27 points to lead off the season before he left in the middle of that Kansas City game in week 4. He had 70 yards in one game, 35 another, 48 in the Kansas City game on 70% snaps. So, yeah, I'm not super concerned about it. Like, it was a hamstring that stuck him out for, a month or whatever. And then he's just piled on these random little leg injuries here and there. I don't think it's related to, like, how he plays the game. If you watch him, I don't know if there's a better quarterback in football at avoiding the big hit. He's just got a knack for either just sliding out of bounds at the right time or putting a move on a guy to literally just get himself on the ground. Like, nobody takes care of themselves with the ball as a carrier better than Lamar Jackson, in my opinion. Maybe nobody, but like, he's up there. It's an elite trait he has, is not getting himself absolutely wrecked. And so I don't think the injuries are a result of his style of play at all. I mean, what we're seeing now is concerning. I'm not going to beat around the bush on that. But yeah, long term, I'm not super concerned. The problem here is when you have these injuries with him, you kind of have to dial back some of the running stuff with him. The designed runs, he's not going to be scrambling as much. And it's just a snowball for an offense that relies on that, right? I think that's what this offense is built on and predicated on is Lamar's legs. Those designed runs, like I said, him bailing them out of the pocket, you take that away, well, all of a sudden, Derrick Henry's not quite as threatening. Now, all of a sudden, you're not worried about him bailing out on you in the pocket, or you're not worried about Derrick Henry having these wide open holes because of Lamar. And, it just snowballs into the passing game being less effective. And that's where we're kind of at. He's able to overcome some of it, but, sure, maybe he's not Superman like he was a couple seasons ago. But I think once we get him into a fresh season here and time to fully heal up, I just don't really think it's going to be that big of a concern. If you're looking to buy, I was looking at a trade database and there's people buying him out there for 2 first-round picks. That is a great price on a guy like Lamar Jackson. Like, 2 years ago, people would be trading 3-4 of those to get Lamar Jackson. So if we can get him for 2 and maybe a cheap add-on or something, I saw a 1, 2, and a 4. I saw a 2 first and a 3. Like, you can get him, man. It can be done, and the price is discounted right now. So I think that's something I'd be willing to be looking into.
Well, one of the things when you look at Lamar is his track record of rushing yards and being a mobile quarterback like that. We are entering like undiscovered territory as far as the longevity of his career. Nobody has had his running profile as a quarterback and lasted this long in the NFL. So it does kind of cause you to question how long really is it going to last? And what does that mean for Josh Allen's future? And is this going to kind of set the stage for, well, instead of a pocket passer lasting 15 years in the league, we can expect a running quarterback to last 7, 8, 9 years, right? As an aside, if I'm the brain trust with the New York Giants, I'm taking Jackson Dart aside for the entire bye week, and we're only watching Lamar Jackson escaping hard contact film. Right. And to Schultzy's point, if you don't like the value coming back, if you're trying to get rid of Lamar Jackson, move forward with him because the talent is still there. And these injuries haven't been a result of the way he plays. It could be age as we, get into our 30s, soft tissue injuries become more of a concern. It could nag him a little bit for the rest of his career. But he's still going to be able to put up performances like he did at the beginning of this season. And, sometimes people just have a down year, and maybe that's just that for Lamar this year.
I'm a little bit worried about the reoccurring lower body stuff, which could limit his rushing upside, and they're going to cap it regardless now moving forward. So what does that mean? He is a great, he's becoming a way better pocket passer, right? And that's better. But I think the formula for them moving forward is the Derrick Henry model. Use Lamar in sparingly in the run game, and they got to get him a number 1 wide receiver and someone that's going to highlight, his deep ball, which is underrated in this league.
Well, let's take week 2 for example. He had 2 rushing attempts for 13 yards, and he scored 34 points, which is the most that he's had all year, based on 225 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. And then he finished as quarterback 4. The week before that against Buffalo, that was that big shootout game and Josh Allen's big comeback. Lamar finished with 33 points, and that was as QB4. And he had 6 rushes for 70 yards and a touchdown. So his ceiling is still there. And those are boosted points in a different league. That's not PPR points. And then week 9 against Miami, he again had four passing touchdowns and had only 5 attempts running. So he's going to be able to win and produce with his arm, regardless of what's going on with his lower body. The last few weeks, Cleveland and the New York Jets, 3 points and 6 points. He had 25 and 23 attempts. He only completed 14 and 13 passes. He had 2 interceptions against Cleveland. They're a good defensive team. He only rushed for 10 yards in one game and 11 yards in the other. So I think that was just a matter of the defenses he was facing shutting him down, shutting down the Ravens. I don't think it had to do a whole lot with injury.
If you're looking at reduced rushing volume, I think that's reasonable that the coaching staff maybe dialing this back a little bit through the end of the season. But entering 26, I don't think that's going to be a thing. Like, I think they're going to go right back to it. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't. I think they'd be silly to not.
That's fair. All right. Okay. Well, let's move on to the next storyline, and that has been, it's been the controversial call of the last couple of weeks. And has JJ McCarthy already become a dynasty disaster? That is my question. And JJ McCarthy's debut season has spiraled into something far more concerning than a typical learning curve. The efficiency has cratered, the turnovers have mounted, and the Vikings offense has stalled to the point where Minnesota is openly evaluating undrafted rookie Max Brosmer as a potential spark. McCarthy's accuracy struggles, slow processing, and inability to push the passing game forward have put the entire offense in neutral. I mean, even a reverse at this stage. And now the concussion introduces another wrinkle that could accelerate a quarterback controversy. The Vikings still want a full season of data before making a long-term decision. Man, just think of what they had last year. Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, they let them both walk. And now what they're left with is JJ McCarthy, who I was super high on. Bigz, you were too. From a dynasty standpoint, how long is the leash here? So should fantasy managers treat McCarthy as a developmental stash who still deserves patience due to the age and draft capital? Or are we at the point where the risk of Minnesota adding real competition now and in 2026 makes them a depreciating asset, the smart dynasty player should move on for? I mean, I'm not sure his value is any lower right now. A third, a fourth? What are we asking for him right now?
Well, when you look at it on balance and where he was taken in rookie drafts, his rookie season, what do we always talk about in Dynasty? Buy low, sell high. And if this is his lowest value, then this is where you go and you buy as many JJ McCarthy shares as you can.
Boom.
Now, here's the thing about JJ McCarthy. What we look at in terms of success in the NFL over the long term, one of the indicators is an early declare. JJ McCarthy won a national championship in his junior season at Michigan and declared early. He was a 3-year starter or 3-year player. He didn't get a whole lot of reps his freshman season. He was called in to run some direct snap plays out of the Wildcat formation. When they needed a rush, they would give JJ McCarthy a rush. He started as a junior and won a national championship with Jim Harbaugh, but they handed off the ball to Blake Corum a lot. He didn't get a whole lot of reps. So you have to kind of take a step back and look at some things. His arm talent. He is a very accurate thrower. That came out at the combine. He's got an absolute cannon. His velocity showed that at the combine. Now you start looking at the pieces around him. There were huge degradation to his offensive line over the course of the season, over the course of the offseason. So he's under pressure quite a bit. You look at his receiving core. Yes, Justin Jefferson is elite. Yes, TJ Hawkinson has been elite. But as a unit, the wide receivers in Minnesota have more drops than anybody. That's not helping their quarterback. So if he's under pressure and the wide receivers aren't catching the balls that he's throwing, then that's a problem. So the problem is not all on JJ McCarthy. He is in a development arc right now. He's not fully realized. And I have zero doubts. I don't know the timeline, but I have zero doubts that at some point JJ McCarthy is going to arrive and be a good quarterback.
Well, I hope so.
I don't fully agree with that.
I know. Nobody's ever been with me on my JJ McCarthy's team.
Well, I don't think that's necessarily nobody's ever been with you. I mean, you've been way stronger than most. And I think that's why some people had some pushback or like, hey, I'm with you, but maybe not that strong. But Dude, for me, it's just I can't get past how bad it's looked. And I get it. Like, I don't disagree with what Bigz has said about the early declares and like that there's an arc here that may be coming to fruition. Like, I think all that is possible. Like, it's in the realm of possibility. But to me, it's been way more good than bad. And the bad has been like exceptionally bad. Now, there was a tweet going around this week, and I don't know if you saw this or viewers probably saw it, whatever. JJ McCarthy now ranks 851st out of 852 in EPA per dropback among qualified passers since 2000. The only player below him is Jamarcus Russell.
Right. I saw that too. But here's the thing. We are in a world where Shedeur Sanders goes out and throws a touchdown on a screen pass that goes for 60-something yards, makes one other completion downfield, and still is completing his passes at under 50% in that game. And everybody wants to give him the keys to the kingdom. I'm telling you, I'm going to go around to every dynasty league that I'm in that Shedeur Sanders is on the waiver wire, and I'm going to pick him up and start offering him for JJ McCarthy.
Well, I mean, I understand what you're saying about Shedeur, but we did the same thing on this program after week 1. We had a leading off question about JJ McCarthy, and we were talking about how he's already arrived. Like, the reactionary stuff has happened on this very show.
By me.
I mean, I don't know if it was only you. I would say I think Mike was there with you. I'm just saying, man, like, the bad has been so bad that I just can't get past that. And the flashes have come at a lot less of a clip than you would want to see. And if QB guru Kevin O'Connell here is questioning this, then I think that's a really bad sign as well.
Well, that's the thing. He is a QB guru, but what QBs has he done that with? Sam Darnold, who had kicked around the league for quite a bit. Josh Dobbs, who was a longtime veteran. Kirk Cousins, who was a longtime veteran. JJ McCarthy he's a fresh face. There are certain situations, like you look at Bo Nix landing in Denver, and he's had more mixed results this year than he did last year. Last year, it took him a while to get going, but he had he had twice as many years in college football as JJ McCarthy before he went into the NFL, and he had more snaps under center as quarterback than anybody in the history of college football. So there's an experience level that's there where he's seen quite a bit and quite a bit more than McCarthy, and he's able to deal with that. And that's part of the learning curve that JJ McCarthy needs to get used to. There are going to be defensive looks that come up at the line of scrimmage that change right after the snap. He's got to get used to that. You look at Jaden Daniels. He was another 5-year guy. These guys landed in the NFL, and there was some immediate success that you could hang your hat on. And this is something that FF Coder has been talking about and baking into his quarterback model, is the number of snaps that people see in college. We are seeing that JJ McCarthy needs some incubation time, but his talent is there. It's the pace of the game that he needs to get used to. It's the defensive looks that he needs to get used to. And those are all part of the learning curve. Things that Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, some of the more experienced college quarterbacks coming out don't have to deal with because they've seen it before.
One of the talking points this offseason was, hey, he's got a whole year to sit and learn this offense and learn the NFL game and learn these coverages and learn from the sideline. I just don't know if I can get on board with that. As a Jags fan, man, I've watched a ton of just absolute crap quarterback play. And some of the stuff we're watching here, I just don't know if a guy's coming back from.
I'm a Raiders fan. I can't relate to
that. But look at some of these guys that are coming with a vengeance right now that might have just needed some time to percolate, like Bigz had mentioned in an offense. And we're looking at guys like a Mac Jones, who is going to probably get paid in a contract next year based on what he did in Jacksonville last year, based on what he did in San Francisco this year.
He wasn't good in Jacksonville last year. He was hot crap garbage in Jacksonville last year. I'll stop you there.
It's a tale as old as time in the NFL. I'm an old head, so I remember Jim Plunkett being absolute garbage and coming to the Raiders and winning 2 Super Bowls, throwing more interceptions than he threw touchdowns. I remember Rich Gannon bouncing around the league for like 7, 8, 9 years before he lands in Oakland and wins an MVP and takes the team to the Super Bowl. Quarterbacks can take some time to develop. It doesn't always land right the first time. We see it from offensive linemen. We see wide receivers take a couple years to break out. Not everybody can be put in one box and develop exactly at the same rate. And quarterback is the same. I have no qualms about my JJ McCarthy shares. I know that they're going to hit at some point. It's just I'm okay with not having it be now. And that's what Dynasty is all about, is building the depth in your roster so that you can weather storms like that. If it's a super flex league, you have to have 4 quarterbacks so that if one of them has a bad season or gets hurt or goes down, you still have your options with your 2 starters and somebody to fill in for buys. It's just how dynasty teams are built. And I don't have any problems with wasting a 7th round pick on a JJ McCarthy or a 9th round pick and a startup on a JJ McCarthy last year and moving forward with him in my roster. It's not a scare to me because I've built enough depth at my quarterback position that I can weather the storm.
I will say, as much as I just crapped on him, trade database, I've seen things like 2 4th round picks. I would even do that.
Yeah.
Like, as much as negative like words I just spewed his way, if you can catch a price like that, yeah, that's worth a swing.
Dynasty is about assets and asset value, not about players and their talent levels.
And it's the beauty about these type of players that, unless you have a lot of ambition about them or preemptive, thoughts, I don't have a whole lot of shares, right? I mean, even after the fact, right? I mean, there are some guys that, like a Jackson Dart, where you're just kind of seeing this stuff, the rushing upside. Some of us thought about that with JJ McCarthy with the O'Connell situation. It just not coming to fruition right now, and he just needs some time, and maybe that happens down the line. You never know. Let's move on to the next one there, Schultzy. What's happening in Dallas?
Ooh, well, shoot, man. A lot of things happening in Dallas, but let's talk some George Pickens. He is no longer hot. He is nuclear. Now, 2 weeks alone before this Thanksgiving game, 9 receptions for 144 and a touchdown against the Raiders, followed it up with 9 for 146 and a score against the Eagles. And then he had the game couple days ago, last night, yesterday, whatever, on Thanksgiving, where he just went for another, I think, 80 yards and had that ridiculous hurdle play that almost took him in the end zone, which would have been so awesome had he done it. But regardless, guy's on a tear. His season totals even more outrageous: 67 receptions off 92 targets, 1,054 yards, averaging 15.7 yards per catch with 8 touchdowns. Now, all those numbers are before the Thanksgiving game, but across all matchups, he's now wide receiver 2 in Dynasty fantasy scoring, right behind Jackson Smith and Jigba only. At home, 32 receptions for 509 yards, 4 scores. Against the NFC, he's got 49 receptions, 775 yards, 6 touchdowns. His November alone includes 24 receptions, 29 targets, 369 yards, 2 touchdowns. In short, Pickens hasn't just played well, he's taking games over. He's changing how defenses align and legitimately force the Cowboys consider reshaping their offensive identity. Rumors are that Dak Prescott wants Pickens signed long-term, and why wouldn't he? They want to sign him long-term only intensifies this conversation about what it means for CeeDee Lamb going forward, who has long been considered untouchable in dynasty circles. Now, for the first time, Dallas has a second receiver producing like a true superstar. So, Mike, Mr. Grindberg himself, if Pickens continues performing like a top 2 dynasty wideout and Dallas commits him long-term, is CeeDee Lamb still safe? Still a safe elite dynasty asset, or should managers consider the possibility that Pickens' emergence is signaling a legitimate changing of the guard in Dallas? How aggressively should dynasty players pivot if Lamb is no longer guaranteed to command true alpha volume?
Well, we saw it tonight, and I think we've seen it, on Thanksgiving, that, they can withhold 2 elite wide receivers regardless. Maybe, Pickens might have just leapfrogged Lamb in the pecking order in Dynasty, potentially. I don't know. I mean, there's some drops that have happened in the past with CeeDee Lamb over the last little while. He's ramping up from being, injured for a little bit of the year here. So I think both of these guys can be top 12 wide receivers like we've seen in Cincinnati. I think they're just the NFC version of the Bengals. I mean, if you look at what Pickens has done, he's made the leap that everybody thought he could do, but no one expected this quickly and decisively in his first season with the Cowboys. He hasn't just outperformed expectations. He's outperformed CeeDee Lamb nearly in every wide receiver, metric that you can think of. Pickens is currently sits top 3 in receiving yards, receiving touchdowns, operating in the wide receiver 2 overall in fantasy right now, like you mentioned in the prelude. 90 PFF overall grade, 1,000 receiving yards, 8 receiving touchdowns. He's 139.4 passer rating when targeted. That's insane numbers right now. And CeeDee Lamb, he still remains one of the most gifted technicians in the league. One down year with drops doesn't erase 3 seasons of established top tier production before injury, contract distractions, and mid-season slump. Lamb was universally viewed as a locked-in top 5 dynasty top, wide receiver in terms of age, role stability, offensive continuity, and red zone involvement. The recipe for a bounce back remains fully intact if Dallas resigns Pickens long term. I think they could both coexist. I think it's exceptional that they could coexist. We talked about Lamb, off season, this opening things up for him, not getting double covered as much is going to prolong his career. Obviously, he got injured early this season, but the move to get Pickens here was to support him and draw some of the press coverage off of him. Pickens is making noise. He's doing the right things. His separation right now is doing well. He's dominating as a wide receiver 1. And I'm struggling a little bit. I think it's going to even out. I'm leaning Pickens right now. Look at tonight in a must-win game when things were down the line. Who was Dak targeting when things were right there? It was Pickens. He had 13 targets in a game, where things mattered, to Lamb's 9. So I'm looking at Pickens as a long-term dynasty asset here, an elite one. And Bigz, you had me completely assimilated here, 3 years and running now. So ever since I met you, you've been a Pickens guy, and it didn't take me long to get converted. So here we are.
That was our first ever podcast was debating George Pickens.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I see this as another situation like you have in with other teams. You take an elite quarterback, you get a wide receiver 1 and a wide receiver 1A, like Burrow, Chase, and Higgins in Cincinnati, Dak, Lamb, and Pickens in Dallas, Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Jared Goff in Detroit, Geno Smith, Jack Besh, and Tyler Lockett in Las Vegas. I mean, it's Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, and Matthew Stafford in LA. It's another one of those stories.
Hey, anytime you can put Geno, Jack Besh, and Tyler Lockett in the same boat as those guys, you got to take a stab at it.
All right,
dude. I think this is a better version of what the Bengals are trying to do. I'm going to be honest, dude. Like, people love to hype up T. Higgins as this number 2 guy who can go out there and be produce like a wide receiver 1, but the reality is it just doesn't happen as much as people want it to.
No, you're right. He does it on a per game basis. He just doesn't play enough games.
Yeah, and then the spike weeks are there. So, and then he'll have weeks where he's getting you 6 points. So like T can kill you. These guys, I don't see that happening, man. We saw it today when CeeDee goes 7 for 112 and a touchdown. Pickens is 6 for 88. And that Pickens number could have been higher. Dak missed him on a few throws. Like, lights up, wheels up for these guys. They are an exceptional duo. I'm still ranking Lamb ahead of Pickens for Dynasty due to this uncertainty of Pickens' future. If he chases a bag on a worse team in a not great situation, like, we could be back at square one with him. So I still would hedge my bets dynasty wise for CD going forward. But if Pickens signs long term in Dallas, I think they're going to be very close to each other.
I'm not sure why they wouldn't. I mean, they just beat the defending Super Bowl champions and the defending Super Bowl champions from the year before, who were in the Super Bowl, against the defending Super Bowl champions. It's incredible in back-to-back weeks. It's actually quite incredible.
Well, the reason would come down to what George Pickens wants. And is this season going to put it in George Pickens' head that he needs to be the wide receiver one somewhere? The Cowboys would be able to offer him a $40 million contract or whatever top flight wide receivers are getting paid at this point. But George Pickens has to agree to the situation, especially when he's fielding other offers from other teams who are like, George, you come in and we're going to give you 150 targets. He's not going to get that from Dallas, but it's going to come down to that. It's not whether Dallas wants to or not. It's whether George Pickens wants to or not.
I mean, the only other team that I think could maybe filter that type of production, I mean, you got to have a quarterback that can provide that type of production for a wide receiver. Maybe New England, that could be the case. Imagine George Pickens with Drake May.
Unreal.
There you have it. All right, let's move on to our stock up, stock down, guys, and let's power through these. So let's start with Schultzy. Do you want to start? Are you ready for it?
Oh, I'm ready.
I want to jump in here real quick. I want everybody who's watching right now, pause this video, go back and watch the fantasy forecast from Tuesday, and watch my rant about this player that Schultzy is going to talk about, and then come back and let's see what Schultzy has to say. Schultzy, go.
Oh, spoiler alert. I didn't see it, but it's probably about the same page. I am not a Shedeur Sanders guy. I don't see this playing out well long term. I don't think he is that guy. So while he's hot, while he's earned the starting job, the stock is up. So go sell and go get your return on him, especially with where he was drafted in rookie drafts. Like, this is instant profit, right? Right at your fingertips.
I went and checked all my dynasty leagues while we were talking, and Shedeur is on the waiver wire in one, and so I was gonna pick him up and offer him for JJ McCarthy, but JJ McCarthy is also on the waiver wire in that league. So I just
is that super flex?
Yeah, and so I just made the claim on McCarthy just instead of having to trade Shedeur. No, in my cold open on the forecast show. I read Dylan Gabriel's line for the season, and then I read Shedeur Sanders' line for the season. And the thing that stuck out was Gabriel was 7 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, and Sanders was 1 touchdown to 2 interceptions, which is not good. A sub 60% completion percentage for Sanders, including 46% in that game against the Raiders, where his defense got 10 sacks. I read the box score, and it was like punt, 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 touchdown, punt, fumble, punt, punt, touchdown, punt, punt, punt. It was bad. And then all of a sudden Monday, he's being anointed as like the next, and it was like, you guys are just, what are you doing? So he passes the eye test because of 1 pass downfield.
I was going to say, that one play he broke out and then just threw a dot, way down the field. That was a great play.
The receiver ran under it. And then Twitter was all, Dylan Gabriel can't make that throw. Are you kidding me? I've watched Dylan Gabriel make that throw all the time at Oregon. It's 2 different worlds. The Cleveland Browns brain trust, as horrible as they've been, they were still smart enough to see that Dylan Gabriel had more value coming into the draft than Shedeur Sanders did. The only reason Shedeur Sanders is starting at this point is just a battle of attrition in week 12, 13 of the season. That's the only reason. It's so crazy how like week to week reactionary the Twitterverse and the fantasy space can be, where people are so hype on Shedeur Sanders right now. The dude is going to face plant so hard, it's not even going to be funny. When he goes against a defense that brings more to the table than the Raiders do, like, oh, hey, this week He's in for it. He's in for some trouble. You think Robert Saleh is going to like sit back and let Shedeur Sanders pick apart the 49ers defense? Absolutely not. This kid is going down, and he's going down hard. Sell out from under him if you can, because I don't think his stock's ever going to be higher than it is right now.
Yeah, and 3-4, well, I don't even remember, like near the line of scrimmage, pass to Dylan Sampson, who then shoots out of a cannon for a touchdown for 60 yards, is doing a ton of heavy lifting on that stat line.
Right. He was under 50%, and he did terrible in his first game. And Dylan Sampson absolutely made his yardage total I think he had 115 yards on 2 of his completions, and he had 160 yards total for the game or something like that. Like, come on, let's get real.
Come on, man. All right, let's move on to my stock up, and that's a guy that we're all really pretty high on, and Bigz is, aligned him in the forecast over the last couple episodes. But TreVeyon Henderson, he's arrived in New England, and the rookie expected to rotate behind these guys is now taking full force, and maybe not the outcome we were hoping for against a really loose Bengals defense, but what I did see in that game was, TreVeyon Henderson dominating the snap share. And when we see what we've seen over the last 5 games from him, 405 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns, 5.4 yards per carry, how, inefficient those other guys have been in the red zone. And now I think he's going to get the keys to that area as well. So I think wheels up for TreVeyon Henderson rest of season. I think he's in a smash play this week against a depleted Giants run defense. I think he's a dynasty stock up in real time. I'm not sure how much more value he's going to get right now. I think he is my RB5 right now in dynasty, and I'm not upset to say it. How about you boys?
No, and viewers of the Fantasy Forecast from about a month ago, I had him as my priority waiver wire ad because I was looking at his schedule and his matchups in the fantasy playoffs, and he was an absolute priority ad, and it's starting to pay off. I'm going to get into my stock up, but I want to say it with a caveat. So Grindberg and I co-own a team in a very competitive league through the Undroppables. We're going against Chalk, who wrote the book on dynasty drafting. We're going up against Jax Falcone, who's just an absolute sharp. FF Coder, who's an analytics wizard. All of the guys at the Undroppables are super, super sharp. So it's a very competitive dynasty league. And we are in position. We're in the 5th spot of 6 playoff spots. And we need to make a run for it. So we went ahead and assessed what we have as on the roster. We had a hole at running back and a hole at wide receiver. And we went and we made a trade for my stock up guy, and that's Chase Brown of the Cincinnati Bengals. And he's been the topic of conversation on a whole bunch of Dynasty Pulse and Fantasy Forecast shows. And looking at his rest of season schedule, his matchups, he's going to have some pretty juicy matchups for the rest of the season. And then he's only 26 years old. So moving forward, he is going to continue to be a dynasty asset. And the only reason that we made this trade for Chase Brown, because TreVeyon Henderson was our guy that we were looking at earlier and saying, these are the matchups that we want. The only reason we went after Chase Brown rather than TreVeyon Henderson is because it's much easier to get a veteran than it is to get a breakout rookie. And they're in similar situations. I can see Chase Brown producing at the same level as TreVeyon Henderson, but the cost was going to be way more to try and get TreVeyon Henderson from a struggling team than it was to get Chase Brown. So Chase Brown is my stock up. It cost us a pretty penny to get him. We calibrated our offer correctly. We knew that there was going to be a counter, and then we knew what our max cost was going to be, and it came right in at that max cost. So we completely we absolutely nailed the trade, and I'm looking forward to this playoff run with Chase Brown.
Me
stock
too.
Up.
Love it. Okay, Schultzy, let's get into some stock downs, and let's start with yours, buddy.
Oh, it's Daniel Jones, and there's a little bit of I told you so to this one. I was the guy all season saying to pump the brakes here. The schedule's been super easy, in the front half of the season. It was a brand new thing defenses were seeing that they had no idea. Like nobody had seen this Colts offense with Daniel Jones before. They're getting pounded by Jonathan Taylor. So like a lot of things happening here. Second half of the season schedule is super rough for the Colts. They've already had a couple of rough games, but now they've got two against Houston, two against Jacksonville, and then they have, oh shoot, I don't remember who the other two are, but they're also playoff teams. Like the final six stretch here for the Colts is brutal. Oh, it's Seattle's one of them. Whatever. It is a brutal schedule down the stretch. Yards per attempts for Daniel Jones as the season has gone on has dipped a little bit. We've seen some of the eye test signs that some little chinks in the armor may be showing, but now we've got this leg injury, and this looks like it could be bad. He randomly pops up with the news today that we've got a fractured fibula, which like, how are we just finding out about this? What is happening here? But the big thing here is, one, that's going to limit his running, which has been a huge plus for him. But also the practice video I saw, man, he's just taking a handoff from under center in like a walkthrough situation. And you can tell he's not there. This has got scary written all over it. Looming injury. Defense is starting to kind of figure this out. Brutal schedule up ahead. Stock down.
Yeah. Time to buy in Dynasty, man. He's getting that contract. We know what the Colts did to get Alexander in their backfield. I mean, in their secondary here. So, they don't have any first round picks left. Daniel Jones is going to get paid here. So I think what Schultzy is saying, you may even want to wait a week or two at this stage and then put in some bids on him if you're not a contender and you're looking to get some profit next year, because Daniel Jones literally has, changed his value over this year, and it might plummet a little bit, but it's going back up as soon as that contract gets hit.
The other thing is what has happened to Jonathan Taylor. That the way that Jonathan Taylor was shut down this last weekend, kind of it shuts down Daniel Jones as well. They kind of go hand in hand, and it's a scary situation in Indy for the rest of the season. If I'm a Colts fan, I'm like hanging on. Like, let's just eke out a couple wins and make it to the playoffs, because we may not run the table.
Yeah, it's 2 against Houston, 2 against Jacksonville, who give up the least amount of rushing yards per game, 1 against Seattle, who stops the run, and then the last one is San Francisco. It is a brutal 6-game stretch to bring this home.
Yeah, but they're run heavy, and he's going to be there, but he may not be that league-winning force that we're talking about. So my stock down, though, is a passing down specialist. He, although, is the perfect buy in Dynasty, and that's Rachaad White. He isn't done in Tampa, but his role is shrinking fast with Bucky Irving returning from injury in week 13, and Sean Tucker firmly established himself as an early down workhorse. White has pushed, to the fringes of the backfield. His usage is now largely, confined to passing downs, and snap counts will be inconsistent week to week. But the key takeaway here is his value is now at an all-time low, and he's under the radar for dynasty managers because his full-time role is just temporarily limited because he's still young, talented, and slated to hit free agency after this season. This makes him a prime buy low candidate of the offseason for a building roster. Right now, White can be acquired cheaply while other managers overvalue his current workload, giving the dynasty owners the chance to secure a high upside running back like him. He's averaging 3 to 5 targets per game. That's incredible stuff when you think about a limited role running back. His rushing attempts are limited, but he's got that upside. We saw what he did a couple years ago. He finished as a top 5 running back, and that could still be the case in the right scenario. So for the low price I could buy him for and the upside that could potentially happen, I'm buying him. The explosiveness isn't quite there, but he could lead a backfield next year and churn his fortune into our fortune, right, guys?
Yep, absolutely.
What do you got as your down player, Biggs?
All right. I'm taking a two-pronged approach with this, and it's based on the theme of trying to make a playoff run. So for teams that are kind of down and out of it, let's start talking about the demise of Travis Kelce. Today, he had 15.5 points against the Dallas Cowboys. He was able to get into the end zone. And it sounds wild to be talking about somebody who's right now sitting at tight end 3 in fantasy. That might be because of today's points, but he has 5 touchdowns on the season. That's in 12 games. That's a down year for Travis Kelce. Then you look and he's got 4 single-digit games. Another game with only 10 points. Another game with only 12, or 2 games with only 12 points. He's eclipsed 15 points exactly twice, or exactly 3 times this season. Travis Kelce is 36 years old. Travis Kelce is not incentivized, especially with his pending wedding to Taylor Swift, not incentivized to continue his career to the point where he suffers a catastrophic injury, continues to get brain bashed. There's a possibility that he calls it quits this year. Well, this comes at a time where we are looking at the cheapest value of the season for draft picks in Dynasty. There's a calendar that basically assigns a point total to what picks are worth. Obviously, when you're involved in your rookie draft, those draft picks are worth the most. Well, we're on the flip side of that right now, and draft picks aren't worth very much at this point in time. So if you are a Travis Kelce owner, his value has dipped to the point where it's going to benefit you to start shipping him off to some playoff contender who thinks that he's going to do something with Travis Kelce, and go ahead and get those picks for Travis Kelce. You can probably get a first rounder for Travis Kelce. You can probably get a first rounder plus for Travis Kelce. Go wild. Make it a 27 first. Make it a 28 first. We talked on the show last week. The number of freshman breakouts in this college class is just going to be high value picks in 2028 in the first round. We've been talking for a couple years about how good the 2027 class is going to be. The 2028 class is right behind it. There are so many guys. I got a question on Twitter this morning or last night. Somebody was we were talking about this guy that has 20 2027 and 2028 first round picks that he's acquired in his league. 20 in those 2 years. And when you look at those classes, they are boom classes. So some guy asked me who out there is having a freshman breakout. And there were 7 names that I came up with, just like at wide receiver, running back, and tight end alone. That's not even including the quarterbacks. So it's going to be a huge class. Throw Travis Kelce to somebody who's a contender and get those, stack up those 2027 and 2028 picks, 2026 picks if you like, because every pick is good. It doesn't matter the year. But then we take a look at Travis Kelce's matchups for the rest of the season. He's got Houston in week 14, the Chargers in week 15, the Titans in week 16, and Denver in week 17. All of those are terrible, terrible tight end matchups. We're seeing the rise of Rashee Rice, the focus on Rashee Rice in that offense, the ability for Kareem Hunt to pile up rushing yards, and Isaiah Pacheco isn't a slouch. He's not going anywhere either. I mean, if there wasn't a time to get rid of Travis Kelce before, it's definitely now.
Yeah. I mean, you have it right. I mean, the Chiefs are on the outside of the playoff picture with a hard time doing it. And you think he's going to give it his all in the last little bit of the season here, with knowing that maybe things aren't going to come to fruition this year. So, yeah, love the call, Biggs. And, get off of Kelce, even though, he could be performing, next couple of games here. Biggs.
And I know how I'm going to feel this in about 12 years with Brock Bowers. So my heart goes out to you, Mike.
There you go. All right. Well, Biggs, take us home, man. What's going on?
Well, Hey, anybody new here, thank you for watching. Go
Yeah.
ahead and subscribe, like the show, hit the bell, all that stuff, all the call to action things. Also, go check out fantasysportsadvice.com. It's our website, app, platform where we have lots of engagement with the content creators. You can find all the videos and everything there. Go to the merch store, pick up a cool hat like the Dynasty Pulse hat that Mike is wearing right now. We got our fantasy forecast stuff. And then stay tuned for all of our programming throughout the week. So we have last night we had points after Thursday, after the Thanksgiving Thursday night football game that's about to happen. Friday we drop our sits show for fantasy forecast. Saturday is the start show. This is also a Friday drop, the Dynasty Pulse. Sunday morning, 8:30 a.m. West Coast time, breakfast with Bigz. Send me your starts and sits questions. I'll answer them and shake a cocktail for you, give you something to think about for drinking for breakfast, get that eye opener going. And then Tuesday, we wrap it all up, wrap up the weekend with our weekend wrap-up show on the Fantasy Forecast, give you some waiver wire ads and recap the week. And then we run it back, points after Thursday, next Thursday night after Thursday Night Football. As soon as the game is over, we go live. And that's what you can expect from us, doing the work so you don't have to.
We're doing the work so you don't have to. And yeah, be sure to check us out on both networks, Fantasy Sports Advice Network and the Undroppables. It's going to air on both networks, so let's hit it up. All right, boys.
We hope you win.
Hope you win, folks. Later.
We hope you win.